When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. I think it's very important to have a feedback loop, where you're constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. Persistence is very important. You should not give up unless you are forced to give up. The first step is to establish that something is possible, then probability will occur. Great companies are built on great products. I say something, and then it usually happens. Maybe not on schedule, but it usually happens. I could either watch it happen or be a part of it. People should pursue what they're passionate about. That will make them happier than pretty much anything else. I think it's possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary. My biggest mistake is probably weighing too much on someone's talent and not someone's personality. I think it matters whether someone has a good heart. The path to the CEO's office should not be through the CFO's office, and it should not be through the marketing department. It needs to be through engineering and design. If you're trying to create a company, it's like baking a cake. You have to have all the ingredients in the right proportion. You shouldn't do things differently just because they're different. They need to be better. I think it is possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary. I would like to die on Mars. Just not on impact. You want to have a future where you're expecting things to be better, not one where you're expecting things to be worse. If you get up in the morning and think the future is going to be better, it is a bright day. Otherwise, it's not. I don't create companies for the sake of creating companies, but to get things done. It's okay to have your eggs in one basket as long as you control what happens to that basket. Failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you are not innovating enough. I think the best way to predict the future is to invent it. If you're constantly pushing yourself higher, the law of averages, not to mention the myth of Icarus, predicts that you will at some point fall. And when you do, I want you to know this, remember this, there is no such thing as failure. The reality is, if you're not doing something that you love, you're probably wasting your time. Work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in 80 to 100 hour weeks every week. You have to be pretty driven to make it happen. Otherwise, you will just make yourself miserable. Life is too short for long-term grudges. I don't spend my time pontificating about high-concept things. I spend my time solving engineering and manufacturing problems. You get paid in direct proportion to the difficulty of problems you solve. Brand is just a perception, and perception will match reality over time. Sometimes it will be ahead, other times it will be behind. But brand is simply a collective impression some have about a product. The idea of lying on a beach as my main thing just sounds like the worst, it sounds horrible to me. I would go bonkers. I would have to be on serious drugs. I'd be super duper bored. I like high intensity.